Hey everybody, welcome back to the Hyperspace Cube Channel. Yodakiller here, and today we're going to be talking about Han 4 Tarkin Town, a little deck tech for you all. This was the deck that I played at BIATL. I was the captain of Team Chaos. It was Craw, Phil, and myself. And yeah, we just had a great time together, testing, prepping, getting ready for this. First BIATL, I was the captain of the highest placing Bothan team. And then this BIATL got 10th place out of 43 teams. I say that's a pretty successful weekend. And I also got stuck playing a Yellow Heroism deck once again. You might be, wondering, why is he playing Heroic Leaders? I always love playing Villain, but sometimes you got to play the deck that can beat either the best deck in the format or control decks, and I'm pretty good at doing those. So Han 4 was up for me. To tell you a little bit about the 3v3, if you haven't heard about it, I'll put the links in the description below, but basically it's a team event, meaning that we all share card pools together. So like if one person's running, let's say 3 Ruthless Raiders, that's all we get is 3s. One is 3 copies of every card in existence per team. So you really have to choose, which leaders are going to go well together. So Craw ended up playing Piet, which is kind of like a Bothan team deck. For this tournament, I was playing Han 4, and then Phil was playing Ray Data Vault. So it was really good comp. Could be able to line up well, pick off aggro decks, pick off control decks. Crow was picking off Boba decks, Boba Data Vault decks. So it was just a lot of fun. And now, yeah, we had a good time, so I can't wait for next BIATL. All right, so this is the deck that I played. I'll talk a little bit about the main deck, but like if you look at the sideboard, right, my main priority here was making sure I had a plan for Piet, so that was why I had the Commandeer. I actually put a lot of the disruption in the sideboard because I thought mostly with space decks you're probably very favored in game 1, and then game 2 and 3 that's when kind of like they bring in a lot of the hate for space, so that's where I could kind of bring in the sideboard cards to help shore that those matchups up. So I kind of wanted to definitely lean on winning game 1 as best as possible. So if you've never played Han 4 at all, this is a good slideshow for you. But if you have, this is just kind of like refinement and kind of just giving you more things to think about. And if you've played this deck and I missed something, please, we're all learning. So let me know in the comments below. All right, so let's start with the Dirtle King. If you don't know what Dirtle means, it's like a term that means that like a leader, or in the flow of the game, like you take a lot of actions. Like Ray Data Vault is a very likes to Dirtle, has the action ability, put a counter on something, attack with all of these little small units. You're taking a lot of actions in a turn. So like this guy here, you have all these 1-drops. You have a lot of things that you can play in your turn, and you're just making sure you're using up all those actions, seeing what your opponent is doing before you're striking and doing a lot of damage. So let's look at it, his front side. So his front side says action, reveal the top card of your deck, then attack with the unit. If the unit revealed card and that unit have different odd costs, that unit gets +1 for this attack. This is a deck that you're playing basically almost all odd cards, costing cards. The only thing in this deck that is even are 3 C-3POs. But besides that, what you want to do is use that front side ability to make your little 1-drops or your Falcons a little bit boosted up, and so you're able to like trade up into things. The flip side is probably one of the most craziest flip turns, and I think in all of Swudb. It is when this is attached as like a pilot, you can, when deployed as an upgrade, right? For each friendly unit or upgrade that has an odd cost, ready a resource. So we are maximizing your odd costs by making sure you can flip and ready all your resources, so you have the potential to play a lot in your flip turn. Okay, so what is this deck primarily? It's an aggressive deck. It's a space deck that can kill on your flip turn. I'll talk about scenarios later in the video, but yes, what you kind of want to do is really set up a very powerful flip turn so you can just kill them either right there and then, or for sure the next turn. It has one of the most versatile flip turns in all of Swudb. It's complicated. There's so many layers that you can do, whether either choosing to flip, how you flip, if you even flip. It threatens a lot, and you can space out as well a lot of your damage, so you don't have to like go Voltron, put everything on one unit and get blown out. So this is one thing that we'll be talking about. You can Dirtle much better than a Vader 4. So this is going to reward patience, right? A lot of times either, go for it on your flip turn, but there's a lot of things you can do during your turn to kind of feel out or maybe even bait out threats that your opponent might have from hand, leaving you the ability to kind of still flip and do different things. And it also has the ability to play slower pace to dodge your opponent's space. Maybe they think to themselves, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and meet you in space. And while they're doing that, and while they're taking time to kind of deal with your things, you can play like a slower game. You can play a little bit of the ground game. You can set up your disruption for their space in order to give yourself the chance to like flip and do more damage. And the biggest thing here is, right, presenting threats on both ground and space. So you are primarily space deck, but like you have plans in the deck that you can go ground, and from there you can kind of split the two lanes, the space lane and the ground lane, making sure that like if they can deal with your space, they're going to get punished, on the ground, and vice versa. Okay. So let's talk about turn ones. Your turn ones are all your little spaceships that you have here. Ideally, like most space decks, and if you've played Vader 4, I think you'd be very good to like transition into something like this, is ideally you do want to play 2 1-drops. The 1-drops that you do want to play, I kind of prefer, if you're playing decks that might have like a Daring Raid, then I will look for stuff with like 2 Republic Y-Wings. But ideally, I want like, either 2 Turncoats or a Mining Guild to start drawing cards. Just basically 2 1-drops. From there, I think what you don't want is like 2 Crackshot V-Wings. That would be bad. Just because one of them takes damage. All right, the other thing you can do too is play Daring Raid. So you can play a 1-drop plus Daring Raid. And of course, you're playing Tarkin Town. So that's like what I talk about, is you have the ability to clear units in space. If you're afraid to with the Rising of Han Green, you're still playing your 2 1-drops. They play Falcon. They attack one of your guys. So you can just kill Falcon and then have space clear. So those are kind of like the big things you can do. Now, this is ideally, right, 2 1-drops. But I do want to talk about kind of the other factor that you can do is go slower. And that is using your ability. So the first thing you can do, right, if you're going first, maybe your opponent's going first and they pass to you. Well, then use your Han Solo ability. You can use it right there every turn if you wanted to, even like if you didn't have any units on board. So you reveal the top card of your deck. What does that do? Gives you information, gives your opponent information too, but you're trying to set up C-3PO, right? Because what you can do is look at the top card, see what the cost is, and then play C-3PO and draw it. So what does that do? Well, so you can mold your hand for the flip turn. That's like the real big thing here, is making sure that like you have the tools that you need to have a powerful flip. This is the great thing about C-3PO. Plays around threats. Maybe they do have Jedi Starfighter, and you don't want to like deal with that right away. Okay, well, you can start building card advantage by going on the ground first and going around that card, and with your 3 drops. I'll talk about that shortly. You can start setting up a wide board. So maybe turn 1 you go C-3PO, you draw a 1-drop, and then by turn 2 you're going to put 3 1-drops out there. And now go wide. They can't deal with all of them right away, but you can begin to set up your game plan that way. And also, it does make C-3PO the target to free up your space. So maybe they do have Tarkin Town. Maybe they are threatened by C-3PO that, okay, well, if I don't kill it immediately, you're just going to be drawing so many cards and be able to put so many things out there that this becomes the main bait, the target for that. Because if I'll tell you right now, I've had opponents who don't respect C-3PO, and you're just drawing cards for days, and that's going to set up your aggressive negotiations to kill them faster. So this is like a really great card to dictate, feel out the pace of the game with the card advantage keen. There's different ways to go about it, right? 2 1-drops first, Daring Raid, Tarkin Town, or go a little bit slower to like make sure that your turns 2, 3, and 4 are good to go with threats. All right, let's talk about turn 2 plays. So let's talk about Falcon. Falcon is bonkers. You can put 2 plots on it, or pilots on it. This is going to be one of the things that you can do. I'll talk about like how aggressive you can be and defensive with it. Bochet keeps your hand very, very full. I love this card because like every card in your deck is odd except for the C-3PO. So almost 97% of the time you're going to be drawing 2 cards with this. It's 2, it's cheap. The big thing here is that +2, so it keeps your units alive. Having that very, very important X4 thresholds for things like Red 5, Blue Leader, other Falcons. Like, it's very important to keep your units healthy as possible, so that +2 really matters. Sanctioner Shuttle is the one that I was talking about, where if you start with C-3PO, then next turn maybe they attack with their space unit. Then you can play a really cheap 1-drop. They don't do anything cool. Now you can Sanctioner Shuttle, and you have that protection that you need to, for example, clear like something that's going to be up there. Maybe they put like a Chewie on a Falcon or something. So this is going to set up like your really, really important plays, especially if you started with 2 1-drops. And then maybe turn 3, you can do the shuttle and a 1-drop. And then, of course, you have Falcon. Ideally, a Falcon is one of those you really want to save for the flip turn. I don't really want to, put it out there on turn 2 because of the resource cost. But if you have to, no problem. But it's one of those things where I want to use it later. And, of course, you have your late game insurance. Cassian's not one that I will play right away on turn 2. Maybe if that's the only thing you have, sure. Or if they started really strong with space, sure. But it's really meant for a late game. I like this card for like control and having that presence on the ground. All right, let's talk about defense. All right, and offense. So of course you have both Falcons. You have probably one of the best pilots in the game, Han Solo. Let's read it. So as a unit, it has ambush for 5, but you primarily want to play this as a pilot. And when you play as an upgrade, you may attack with the attached unit. If it's a Millennium Falcon, it deals combat damage for the defender. This is a really big thing, and I find it a lot to deal with big units in space. So like people talk about, how do you deal with Invisible Hand, Frigate, Devastators, especially if like they started with Gonk Droid, or they resupply and one's coming. Well, you can immediately turn 2, put the Falcon down. Maybe they have the Gong play. They put the Frigate down, or Invisible Hand's coming soon. Cool thing is you can use the Han Solo pilot, especially on the pilot Millennium Falcon, and be able to trade and kill one of these in one shot because it's a 6/7 and it deals damage before the defender. So kind of think about it both ways. Is yes, you can do damage right away for 6, which is already like not a lot of decks can deal with a 6/7 on at that turn, or use it defensively. So 2 things to think about, because the best way you can do is clear their big units so that they don't have a target for craving power and they don't have a target for barrage. So keep that in mind. Okay, and of course we want to end 5 drops with I think one of the best cards we got this set was his Lightmaker. Lightmaker hits like a truck, has raid 4, so it can hit for 7, and then has the when defeated, choose an arena, exhaust each enemy unit in that arena. I cannot state enough how important this ability is. If they do kill this on your turn, you're able to exhaust an entire arena. You can even choose the space so they won't threaten your guys, ground, and basically it is an outmaneuver in your main deck. I want to, like, a little cheeky play I did in the tournament was I had another Lightmaker in hand. At that point, I could have resourced it, but my gut was telling me, you know what, let me keep it in my hand. And what I did was I just played the Lightmaker out, defeated the other Lightmaker I just played, triggered its when defeated, and that was my outmaneuver that I needed to close the game out because of action. So, one of those things to keep in mind. Use cases, but something that you can do. Of course, you have Poe Dameron. I mean, very, very strong unit. I used it primarily for the 8 damage, right? For the on attack discard 2. One thing you are going to be having in your hand is a lot of cards. And so that, you can utilize Poe to the best potential. And I've talked earlier about the Cassian Andor against control. Okay, let's talk about this flip turn, right? This is one of the biggest things. You have the potential to use up 10 resources on your flip turn. No other deck can do this. You have your 5 resources that you initially get. So if you want to put out more units, put pilots, You play C-3PO, all of these things. And then you additionally can flip on a unit and then ready 5 resources, so potentially 10. Okay, so I want to talk about these scenarios, right? And I think the biggest thing that I want to present here is give you the ways that you can do the most amount of damage, or what kind of interactions you can do with your resources. Now, very, very important to keep in mind is these scenarios are, without opponent interaction, without bamboozle, with hate. Like let's say your plan is going according to plan. Maybe you've already played a disruption. You're seeing their hand. They have nothing. Maybe they tapped out. Maybe they claimed and took initiative for some reason, and say, do your worst. Okay, I want to put that very clear, because a lot of people might think to yourself, oh, you're trying to set up all of these things. How likely is it to happen? It can't happen. I've done it already many times. But the second thing is more importantly, is to just say, like, yes, there should be some interaction, but sometimes maybe this deck doesn't have it, or they don't have it, and this is what you need to do. So let's clear the air on one thing. Let's talk about plot really quick and sudden ferocity. With this card, yes, you can use this plot before Han's ability resolves. So let's say you only have maybe 4 odd cost things, or not many, but you have the sudden ferocity that is an odd cost, so you can potentially flip your Han Solo leader with your resources still, intact. You have 5 or 3 remaining. You can put the ferocity on a unit, resolve Han Solo's ability, and now you can untap and have that sudden ferocity as another odd cost to untap more resources. Maybe 3 to 4 resources. So this is how it's really important to kind of use this ability, is like you can resolve plot before this ability. So resolve your plot cards first if you need to play them, and then untap. So this is like another cool way to use your resources from hand, also from abilities on the board, and plot. So this is really, really cool. Keep this in mind. All right, so let's talk about one of the biggest things. You can do 16 damage on 5 resources, right? So if you have this Falcon out, and let's say you have 5 resources still untapped. So you have your Falcon out, maybe you're already attacking with some units here and there. You have the Falcon out, you immediately flip on it. And when you flip on it, you reveal your sudden ferocity. So you're paying 3 resources to put sudden ferocity on there. And then you are untapping your resources. And you can play another ferocity. So now you have 2 remaining, and then you can put the Han Solo pilot and hit for 16 damage. What does that equal? Emotional damage. For sure. I've done this before, and the responses that I get is, what the heck did you just do? And this is broken. And it is. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, how much mana did you spend here? I spent 8 here. 6 for this, and then 2 for the pilots. 8 resources in total. Remember, you have 10 resources that you can do. So this is one way that you can do a lot of damage. Let's talk about other scenarios. Same thing. You have Falcon. Maybe you have 1 ferocity, or this is kind of like progressing towards what are the smartest things to do, not go too Voltron, not put everything on 1 unit. Is you have Boshek, right? You can use Boshek to draw more cards that you can put on the board to better flip on other units to give you all the resources that you need. You can do Han Pilot on the Falcon and start spreading your damage on other units. You have Mining Guild TIE Fighter to draw a card, especially since you've seen it with the Han Solo ability. You're able to draw it. Maybe that gives you the Falcon. This is my favorite thing to do on the flip, is making sure you have this on the flip turn, because what you want to do is start taking actions, and maybe your opponent feels secure that you have nothing to pilot on that will attack right away. Now you can play the Falcon that's ready, then you can flip on it and then play Sudden Ferocity and start attacking. One thing I do want to talk about is diversifying your flip. Is it's good enough to just attack with as many units as possible, flip on a leader, and then just end your turn by playing a 5-drop. Or play a 5-drop first and then do your actions. vice versa. But the good thing is, look, put your threats out there. Don't put it on one guy. Spread the love around. And then put them in a position where they need to answer and respect your units here. I think that's like the biggest thing ever and why it's important to have these top ends here. I've seen some decks that don't play Poe and don't play Lightmaker. I think this is a huge mistake. You need to have something out there that is going to make them respect your guys. If it's not like a big leader flip turn, it's want to be one of these guys. And how can you take advantage of that? Well, the Undercover Operation Flip, amazing card. This is what I'm talking about. And this is another way that you can attack this. So again, 5 resource turn. Let's say you're taking your actions. Maybe you're not flipping this turn. You know what? This is not a good flip turn for you to flip. Maybe you don't have a great flip where you can untap all your resources. Hey, play the Poe to the ground. Tap out, play the Lightmaker. You're all tapped out. This is what I kind of like want to set up. Take all your actions, dirtle as much as you can. You leave nothing that Han can flip onto. And this is going to present, you know, the threat, and they need to claim. They need to claim because I have the Fell the Dragon for your Poe. Or I have the No Glory for your Lightmaker. So what do? They claim. Okay, cool. So you flip onto the Lightmaker. Or you flip onto your another unit that's tapped, making that a must answer. And now you can untap some resources. And what do? Now you play Undercover Operation. So this kind of gives the opponent a sense of security. And then you can ready the unit. So this is one thing that people miss. They just think they see the 3 or less. So let's read it together. It says, ready a unit that was played this phase. If it costs 3 or less, create a spy token. So you can ready any unit that comes into play this phase. So right there and there, you can play the Poe, flip onto another unit, untap resources, play Undercover Operation, and attack right away. So that's going to be anywhere from 8 to 10 damage, and you present more threats, you know, to your opponent. I've done this too where, you know, I was able to do the Undercover Operation play and hit for 8. And now they're like, okay, now I got to deal with the Poe, and I got to deal with your Han Solo that's flipped on maybe one of those Falcons. So diversify. Let's talk about another scenario. Let's talk about the Undercover Flip Part 2. So let's talk about if you have a Falcon you just played on your resource turn. So you do the same thing. Take all your actions. Leave 3 resources up. Then you play your Falcon. Then you flip onto it. Ready your resources. Undercover Operation, and now you're hitting for 12 damage. So because you're doing 6 with the Falcon, untapping 6 again. So 12 damage right there from hand. Give you another scenario. Let's say you're doing the Falcon and you've played everything. You play a Falcon, they claim, cool. I will flip onto my Falcon, do as much as you can. Then you flip onto the Falcon, you're able to Undercover Operation, and if you have the pilot, put the pilot on there, and now you're hitting for 10 damage right from the hand. So very, very important, and why I love this card so much. It's a very niche card. I could play 2. I like either one in the main deck, one on the board, but it's a really cute, cheeky card that out of nowhere especially if you facing decks where they're killing everything, and you just play like a little 1/3, and they go, all right, cool, claim, flip, and attack right away. All right, delaying the flip turn and why you would do so. So, punish those who are afraid of the flip. Sometimes, a lot of people leave their resources open. They just go pass, waiting for you to flip, and you're just attacking with your units here, using that flip, the on reveal ability. Just attack with the Falcon. Taking as many actions as you can, and they are afraid. They're really prepared. Maybe they have the Bamboozle in hand, or they have the Fang Fighter in hand. Well, dirtle and do as much as you can with your resources, and then when they just go pass again, you just claim. And they've done nothing with their turn at all. They just are not. See, this is the thing about this deck is the more that you can put fear into them about your flip turn, the more they are just like on their toes, not implementing their game plan, and you just spent your resources and spent all your actions and then you get to do it all over again. And you force them to interact with you, and then you can punish them by doing your flip. You can also play around Barrage or Bamboozle. Just make sure that the coast is clear and you're not punished. I cannot overstate how often you can flip on the ground. This is a lot of things that like people were. I remember I was playing Jeff, my teammate, and a lot of people in testing, like they've never seen someone flip on the ground. And I mean, this is important. I mean, I think if you have ferocities, especially on the in your resources row, flip on the ground. Like you are presenting 6 and 9 damage with your leader. You can still flip and plot and put this on and go face. So really important, and something to think about is, cool, set up your flip turns. Maybe they have Sentinel and you want to ensure damage, flip on the ground. This leader here is 7 health. Very difficult to take down, so be confident. Put it on the ground. All right, burst from hand. I also do want to talk about another thing is that this deck does play aggressive negotiation. This deck does draw a lot of cards. You can play the slower game where you're going to set up the aggressive negotiation play where you are just chipping away, drawing cards, and then at any point you early claim, draw your cards, don't resource, even take Falcon back into your hand, and then play aggressive negotiation and do as much damage as you can from the cards you have in hand. This will cause some emotional damage for sure. This is big burst. This is another angle that you can do from this deck. Okay, let's talk about disruption. There's cards that are going to be super important for you to play. If you're afraid of those big threats, those big ships like Piets or the Bobas of the world, Waylay is going to be your guy to kind of make sure that they don't have anything to flip on, or you've already targeted down their first big ship. Now you can Waylay their second ship. Jam communications are going to be really important. That's going to be the one that you know, kind of helps you map out your entire turn. This is the one that will say, cool, doesn't have the bamboozle, doesn't have the entrenched, or maybe he does. Now you can play around it. Biggest thing about this card, information. I've always talked about this. Information is everything. The biggest thing here, outmaneuver, very important card. That undercover operation could be, you know, in the sideboard, you can bring the outmaneuver. I'm very big on probably doing an outmaneuver main deck. I just seem like the popularity of all of these decks playing value cards on the ground, you're going to punish them. Very important card. And then the same thing Fang Fighter for the mirrors, for entrenched, especially the decks that are blue, and they want to bring that card in. Make sure you have this ready to go to defeat and upgrade. Lastly, please do not play the wrong ride. I'm not sure why people are a fan of this card. To me, it just delays the inevitable. You're spending 3 resources just to stop them. If you're not if you're not killing them that turn, you're just delaying till next turn to do what they need to do. And I think like you're not setting up, you're not being proactive enough. This is a defensive card that I don't think is necessary in this deck. I get what it's trying to do, but I'd rather you just go about it a different way and do the strategies that I've taught in the previous slides and play around their big threat. I just don't think you need this. It's not helping you, I don't think. It is like, be more proactive. It's too defensive. It just delays. Okay, so all in all, I hope you found this a little bit valuable just to give you a different angle of how to attack and do as much damage as possible. But you can kind of see there's a lot of actions and a lot of decision points that you can make in this deck. It dirtles. So dirtle the best you can. All the little damage that you're doing, they're like paper cuts. And they all add up to kill your opponent. And then you can do burst. So this is kind of where I'm at right now. If I was going to a PQ tomorrow, this is what I would play. Not much different here, but in my sideboard, I want another light maker. I think he's just a very important unit. I want another Waylay. I'm up to 3 outmaneuvers, so I have the race covered, especially if people are going wide on the ground. And then I'm up to 3 jam communications. I do believe people are aware of space. I think space is really good right now, and I think you want to play around all the hate that's coming, and especially if you're playing a blue deck that if it goes a little long, cool, but you know, still got to be aware of like cards like Hyperspace Disaster. Still got to be aware of Bamboozle. Still got to be aware of, you know, No Good to Me Dead. So just, and Bombing Run, of course, too. So this is really cool to just take a peek and take something from their hand. So, yeah, if you like this video, please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. And if you have any questions, please let me know in the description below. I will also put my Swudb link here for you to do some testing, and maybe you can crush this at a PQ. All right, till next time. Bye-bye.